In this class activity, you're going to be doing an unsupervised image classification by hand. There's 4 basic instructions here, and you can see that they're numbered here, 1, 2, 3, and 4. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to plot the reflectance data. The reflectance data values are shown down here. So this is the entire remote sensing image here. Each one of these represents the brightness value of a grid cell for a different band. This is the visible red band, and this is the near infrared band. And you can see that they're also labeled here and here. So the first thing you're going to do is plot all of these points here. Then you're going to put some sort of shape, a circle or a square or something around the area where points are clustered. And you should find 4 different clusters, which you can just start out by calling A, B, C, and D. Depending on what cluster each of those points falls into, you'll then fill out the land cover map, which is of course the same size as the 2 images you have. Every one of these images will be converted into a land cover type, and the A, B, C, or D will be based on where they plot on this graph here. And then once you have your A, B, C's, and D's on, then you can actually tell what those A, B's, and C's, A, B, C, and D's mean by looking at how these different things like water and forest and sand respond in those 2 different portions of the electromagnetic spectrum. These 0s to 255s here will be what the sorts of values are related to what we see in these, for example, the visible red here, and what we expect for those different features here. So let's talk about how to get started. I'm just going to move over to PowerPoint because it's easier to draw here. And the first thing you'll see there's already 1 point on here. This represents the first grid cell. It has a visible red brightness value, reflectance value of 22, which is moving along the visible red here, 10, 20, and then 22 would be here. And it has a near infrared brightness value of 6, so moving up along this axis here from 0 halfway to a little over halfway to 10 would be the 6, and that point is put on here. If we wanted to put on another point, let's say the one right next to that, 31 and 11. I'll just add a small circle there. What we would then do is we would go over 31 here, so that would be 10, 20, 30, just beyond here, and then the near infrared is going to have a value of 11, so a little bit higher, and then we would just take this point and we would move it on to 31 and 11, and then we would keep doing that for all of the other grid cells here. So by the time you finish, you should have 36 different points here. And then what you want to do is you just want to kind of put some shape, or it could be a rectangle, it could be some other shape around all of those points that might have similar values, if a lot of them plot into these areas here. So all of your points should show up in one area here, and maybe there's another area somewhere else on your graph where a lot of other individual points show up. And it can be a different size rectangle, of course, or circle, or any other thing you want to put on there. But you'll kind of put on these different categories here. This is going to be your A, B, C, and D. So you'll call one of these A, you'll call one B, you'll call one C, and you'll call one D. And then for all of those points there, you'll have to go back and see which points those are. It helps to label them, right? Just like this point was labeled number 1, we would want to label the next point that we already put on number 2. And then you would keep doing that with all your points so that you know which points here are going to fall within each of those rectangles here. So if this is rectangle A, then this value here would get an A. And so with the value next to it. By the time you fill this in, each one of these will have an A, B, C, or D, depending on which rectangle these points fall in. And then you'll have to, and then by looking at that last part here, you'll be able to actually see what those A, B, C, and D's represent as far as these potential land cover types here.